Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Ruach Kodash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is The Riches of This World. Now I believe I was watching Elder Apostle Tahar's video earlier, and I'm not sure if he mentioned the book of Romans, the 11th chapter. Somehow that chapter came into mind. And I started thinking about, I wasn't sure what verse it was, but I started thinking about, I've come to find that it was a 12th verse dealing with the riches of the world. And I started looking up, certain words. And I came across a little information that I wanted to share, with you brothers and few sisters out there. Just something I found interesting. So just to get into it, the book of Romans, as we all know or should know, was written to the Israelites that were scattered in Rome, that are known as the saints in the scriptures. When we read Romans 1:7, to all that be in Rome, beloved of the Most High, called to be saints. The word saints means holy. The only people that are known as the saints or the holy ones are the Israelites. Gather my saints together unto me, those that have made a covenant with me by sacrifice. All nations did not make a covenant with the Lord by sacrifice. Grace to you and peace from the power of our Father and the Lord Yahushai. So getting into it, when we read the book of Romans, the 11th chapter, beginning at the first verse on down, this is the Apostle Paul explaining to these Israelite foreigners that they're not cast away, meaning the Israelites that knew that they were Israelites and the Gentiles, which were Israelite foreigners. Salaki for a minute. All right. And he went through some comparisons showing how he himself was an Israelite from the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin, because he wasn't a Jew, even though he had that status and he could call himself that because that's what they understood back then. They didn't understand Judah, Benjamin, Levi, and the different tribes. They just understood Jews. And he goes on to say that they didn't cast away, the Lord didn't cast away his people. And he used a comparison of the prophet Elijah, how he thought he was the last prophet left. And the Lord told him that he reserved 7,000 men that have not bowed the knee to the image of Baal. And just like you have, certain elect from among the ones that knew that they were Israelites back then, you also had a certain number of elect that did not know, that were called Gentiles or heathens, but they were Israelites. And what it was a gathering of the Heavenly Father through his words of the elect among the Jews first in the land of Israel that knew they were Israelites, and among the Jews or Israelite foreigners that didn't know that they were Israelites, scattered among the nations. And that's what this chapter of Romans, the 11th chapter, is all about. Now, when we jump down to the 7th verse, it says, what then? Israel hath not obtained that which he seeketh for. What was Israel seeking for? They were seeking for salvation. They were seeking for the truth. It says, but they haven't obtained it. But the election hath obtained it, and the rest were blinded. So the ones that were a part of the election, they obtained the truth. Because not contrary to popular belief, not every Israelite back then that knew that they were Israelite, they knew that they were an Israelite, not all of them rejected the Lord. You had a good number of Israelites that followed Yahushai. You had a good number of Israelites that followed the apostles. At one time, they had 3,000 that joined. Another time, they had 5,000 that joined, So there was always a remnant from among those that knew that they were Israelites that followed Yahushai. The disciples themselves were all Israelites. Because these wacky-tacky Christians try to use St. John, the 1st chapter, to say that, that he came to his own received him not. So that's their justification for the Lord is no longer dealing with Israel, which is total nonsense, total bullshit. and they can be decapitated spiritually, by just the fact that the apostles were Israelites. Just that alone. And many other things. It says, and the rest were blinded, because you had a certain amount of them that were blinded because prophecy had to be fulfilled. According as it is written, the Most High hath given them the spirit of slumber, eyes that they should not see, and ears that they should not hear unto this day. So back then, when this was being written, they were blinded, and all the way up until modern day America, Babylon the Great, the four corners of the earth today, Jake is still blinded to this truth in certain cases. Not all of them, because you have the election. And that's what, this chapter also is dealing with. The elect from among the ones that knew that they were Israelites, and the elect from among the ones that didn't know that they were Israelites. And David saith, let their table be made a snare, because King David, through the Spirit, put a curse on certain Israelites that they would not be able to get it. That the table, which is this truth, which are the scriptures, would be made a trap unto them. A snare and a trap and a stumbling block. And that's why a lot of them stumble at this word, because they've been hypnotized by plantation Christianity to believe that falsity, that lie, known as plantation Christianity, or that Elder Pops with the hard coin, that's plantation Christianity. They stumble at it. That has become the blinders that were put on them, so that they can't find their way into this truth, and a recompense under them, because this is the payment that the Lord put on Israel, going all the way back to the beginning. Because even before the world was created, you had those that were sealed to be part of the elect, to be saved, to be able to receive this word, and you had those that would not be able to receive it. Just like it says in 2 Corinthians, the 2nd chapter, where it speaks about, to one he is a savior of life unto the life, and to the other one he is a savior of death unto death. So it says, let their eyes be darkened, that they may not see, and bow down their back always. Because the prophecy says what? That the tents of Judah should be raised up first. That the glory, that the rest of the tribes of Jerusalem do not magnify themselves against Judah, because Judah is the head tribe. Genesis 49. Judah, thou art he whom thy brethren shall praise. Yahushua himself came out of that tribe. If the Most High was to come down on the earth himself, which he's not going to do, he would be a Judite. Oh, how can you say that? Well, it's in the scriptures, man. Anyways, let's move on. And that's why I said, if the Most High is too powerful, he can't, he wouldn't be able to, there would be no way any type of flesh could contain that spirit. It says, so we're getting closer to the point now. It says, I say then, have they stumbled that they should fall? So the Jews that were in Jerusalem, that didn't believe, that were severed from salvation, like Yahushua told them, wicked Pharisees and them, you shall die in your sins, because if you believe not that I am the Messiah, or something along those lines, you're going to die in your sins. So it says, so have they stumbled that they should fall? So because they stumbled at the stumbling stone, which is Yahushua, does it mean that they just fell and that's it, period? Nothing? Because you have individuals out there that actually teach that the 2/3 are not going to make it into the kingdom. That once they're destroyed, that's it. They're going to hell, or whatever the hell they teach. But the scriptures say here, have they stumbled that they should fall? The Most High forbid, meaning no. Because just because they stumbled, that doesn't mean that they're going to fall, because at the end of the day, all Israel shall be saved. Because the scriptures say that the Most High shall make all thy people righteous. Says the Most High forbid, but rather through their fall, salvation is come unto the Gentiles. Now here come these wacky-tacky Christians, these Edomites, mainly Edomites and Jakes that have been bamboozled and deceived by these Edomites. And so, see, that's talking about the Gentiles. The Jews didn't accept it. They fell away. You guys missed the mark. You guys, blew your shot. Now it falls on us. No. These Gentiles are Israelite foreigners. And it says to provoke them to jealousy. Who? The Jews in Jerusalem, the ones that knew that they were Israelites. To what? To provoke them to jealousy. This is why this is fulfilled in Acts the 13th chapter. When the Jews, the Apostle Paul said it, since you don't accept this and you don't feel like you're worthy of this, in so many words, lo, we turn to the Gentiles, we go into the Israelite foreigners, because they have to be taught this too. But it was necessary for the Jews to be taught this word first. The Israelites that knew that they were Israelites. Then the rest of the tribes would be brought in. Because if you're building the tabernacles of David, King David is a Judite, and the Judites would have to be built up first, and then the rest of the tribes. This is why when you go back in the history, I was meditating on this earlier also, you go back in the history, you go back to the commandment keepers and all of those Israelites back then that woke up to finding out that they were Israelites. There was what? Mainly Judah. You had Benjamites and Levites, but it was what? Mainly Judah. And them finding out that they were Israelites is correct. But they were following the small hats, and they didn't accept the New Testament. They didn't accept that the Messiah came. So what happened? That was the beginning of the grand awakening of the Valley of the Dry Bones, started with them really, but there was no breath in them. And as you move forward, into, the 60s and 70s, it spread out to the rest of the tribes. But it began with the Israelites back then. And it's my belief, and I'm pretty sure other apostles and bishops and elders and brothers will agree, that those Israelites that were up in Harlem, that were part of the commandment keepers, that were part of those Old Testament heads, were all part of those same individuals back then that fell under either the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the scribes, the lawyers, so on and so forth. That made up the religious sects, so-called religious sects of, Israel back then, because they're coming right back into their lot. They didn't accept Yahushua back then. They're not accepting him now. So anyways, the main point is here in the, verse 12. Now, if the fall of them, meaning who? The ones that knew that they were Israelites, the Jews that knew that they were Israelites, be the riches of the world. Now, at One West, this was taught that the riches of the world was talking about that once we fell as a nation, all nations became rich because, you had the Romans came in, they took all our gold and silver and all that. No, that's not what this is talking about. When we jump down to the 33rd verse in the same chapter, it tells you what those riches are. Romans 11:33. Oh, the depth of the riches, both of the wisdom and knowledge of the Most High. How unsearchable are his judgments and his ways past finding out. So what is it? The depths of the riches, both of the wisdom and knowledge of the Most High. So when the Israelites in Jerusalem fell, the ones that knew that they were Israelites, that opened up the door for the riches of this truth to be broadcasted to the Israelite foreigners. And it uses the word world here. When you go to this word world, as we've done in many other videos with different scriptures, you have riches, Plutos, and then you have of the world, which is what? Cosmos. Now here you have the word cosmos, right? Which goes down, it says an apt and harmonious arrangement or constitution, order, government. So this is dealing with the Israelites who all have the same, laws, statutes, commandments, custom, language, so on and so forth. But the Israelite foreigners, what happened? They were strangers from the covenants, from the Commonwealth of Israel, because they had fallen away and became strange to their own nation. Now check this out real quick, just building off of that. Let's go to the book of 1 Ezra chapter 5, and let's go to verse 7. It says, and these are they of who? Jewry, which is what? The Israelites back then, which is just southern kingdom, that came up from the captivity where they dwelt as what? Strangers, whom Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, had carried away unto Babylon. So can Israelites become strangers? You damn right they can. And just like they can become strangers, they can be reconciled back to the Most High, because there are provisions in the law that prescribe ways of getting an atonement with the Most High. The Lord got tired of that, so ultimately what had to happen? The Messiah that they had been waiting for since the world began finally came on the scene 2,000 years ago and made the eternal reconciliation or atonement by his body. But only the elect would get it. Only the elect from among the ones that knew that they were Israelites, and only the elect from the ones that didn't know that they were Israelites. And even some of these individuals that woke up, that are out there teaching about Israel, you know, because you do have some like Elder Rakav, the GOCC, that teach that all the other nations can be a part of this. Before we woke up, we didn't know that we were Israelites. We were all pretty much in a Gentile state of mind. So you can use that as an example of what the Apostle Paul, you know, and the Apostle Peter, you know, were going through back then, waking back up these Israelites among these nations. All right. So going back, dealing with the word cosmos, it says ornament, decoration, right? Adornment. Like you see a woman, she has makeup. There are things that she does with her hair, and she has makeup for her eyebrows. She has makeup for her eyelashes. She has makeup for her cheeks. There's a foundation. You have lipstick. You have fingernail polish. You have, you know, Salake for a minute. Okay, Salaki, about that. So it says, you know, a woman, she has, if you go to the book of Isaiah, the 3rd chapter, it gives you all the different accessories that women wear, you know, from head to toe, you know, and I'm not talking about, you know, Lisa and the Coat Jam, head to toe. So it's an arrangement, right? Hold on for 1 second. I'm not sure if that's the word that's used, because when you go to the back of the Red Bible and you look up under the concordance and you look up under the word world, it breaks down the different types of worlds that there are in the New Testament, and it also gives you like a word that goes along with it, right? Like you have the word world, eon, which is uninterrupted rule. You have the word cosmos, which is organization. So what organization is this speaking about? That when the Jews in Jerusalem fell, the riches or the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of the Lord was opened up to them. It was talking about the Israelite foreigners, a part of that organization or a part of that arrangement. Now check this out. Let's go from there. Let's go to the book of 1 Peter, chapter 3 and verse 1. The point is in verse 3. Likewise, ye wives, be in subjection to your own husbands, that if any obey not the word, dealing with the husbands, they also may without the word be won by the conversation of the wives. Why? Because of the mannerisms, the change that he's going to see in his woman. You know, the godliness, the more in line, you know, that his woman is going to be. You know, she's going to stop eating certain things. You know, she's going to be more pious. She's going to be more, you know. So it says, while they behold your chaste conversation coupled with fear, right? You're no longer talking that yang that you used to talk before. Whose adorning, let it not be the outward man adorning of plaiting the hair and of wearing of gold and of putting on of apparel, right? Because those were the ornaments, the decorations that a woman would use or wear, you know, perfume, you know, and the different makeup and the way that you wear your hair, you know, you wear it well, you wear it well, you wear it well, you wear it well. It's a lucky. So when we look up the word adorning, lo and behold, what do we see there? The word cosmos. Cosmos. An apt and harmonious arrangement or constitution, order, government. It has nothing to do with the whole entire world. Now, as you go through here, they'll start throwing the world in, the universe, you know, the circle of the earth, the inhabitants of the earth. That's not talking about that. The human family. There is no such thing as the human family. Everyone comes from Adam, yes. But every nation has a nation that was allotted to them, because the Lord separated everybody into nations. All right? So this has nothing to do with the entire world. Now, the world that it does have something to do with is the world of Israel, which has an harmonious arrangement or constitution. That's why the Lord said, let's go to Psalms chapter 50. This is the harmonious arrangement or constitution. Psalms 50 and 5. Gather my saints together unto me, those that have made a covenant with me by sacrifice. And not all nations made a covenant with the Lord by sacrifice. The Lord did not give his law, statutes, and commandments to all nations. So they are not a part of this arrangement. And when you go back to the source, because you got to source up, right? You got to either source up or shut the F up, right? When you go back to the source in the New Testament, John 3:16, for God so loved the world, that's talking about the Israelites. From when you start in the first verse all the way down, the Lord speaking to Nicodemus about what? Being born again. Meaning what? Putting off the old man, accepting Yahushua, becoming a new creature, walking in newness of life. And as you if you keep going down, it speaks about as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness. The serpent was lifted up in the wilderness because Jake went off and them serpents were biting them and putting them to death. So the serpent was raised up to what? For the healing when they looked upon it. So the same way that was lifted up for Israel is the same way that the Lord raised up Yahushua for the world of Israel, the cosmos of Israel. You see? Because it's an arrangement. It's not the whole entire earth or the whole entire planet. It's an apt and harmonious arrangement or constitution. This is why those strangers in Ephesians, the 2nd chapter, which were Israelites, were told what? That you at that time you were without Yahushua. You were aliens from the commonwealth of Israel. You was locked out. Because when you go back to the Greek Empire, they were Hellenized. They lost their way because certain of them chose to follow after the heathen because they didn't want to suffer the persecution from the Greeks. But others decided just to be put to death, said to hell with it. You see? So these that became Hellenized, that carried on into the Roman Empire because the Greek Empire was absorbed into the Roman Empire roughly around 25 BC at the end of the last Cleopatra and the last Ptolemy, which I believe was Ptolemy the 13th. And I'm not sure if the last Cleopatra was Cleopatra the 7th, which the Ptolemy the 13th, which was young, very young. He was a pharaoh and he was an Edomite, so-called white person. And so was Cleopatra. All of the Cleopatras were all so-called white women, Edomite women. You know, So if any of these so-called black conscious community individuals jump up and say that the pharaohs of the Ptolemaic dynasty were so-called Negroes, they're wrong. They're bugged out. If they say that the Cleopatras were so-called, Hametics or so-called brown-skinned women, they err in their own thing that they're into. You see, and contrary to popular belief, like that fat head snake, that little hat with that big fat head, vocab tried to do, he tried to say at that time all of the Egyptians were white. No, they were not, because Egypt was there were mixed people in there. The ones that were Edomites were predominantly all of the ruling class, but you had actual Egyptians there. You had actual Israelites there that were speaking the Greek language, but they were keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, because they would be classified as Hellenistas or Helleniste. All right. Now the Israelites that lost their way, that didn't know that they were Israelites, they were labeled Hellen or Hellene. All right. There's a difference. Now Timothy, his father, would be considered a Hellene or an Israelite that would be classified as a heathen, because he followed the Greek customs. TJA, Tiberius Julius Alexander, the general that helped take down Israel back in 70 AD, he would also be considered a Hellene, even though he was a Jew, because he didn't deal with that part of his identity. He was all about the Roman Empire. That's why he had the name TJA, Tiberius Julius Alexander. That was not an Israelite name. So now, building off from there, so remember, we read in 1 Peter that the word for world, cosmos, was also written in the English as adorning. See? Look it up. Look, adorning. What does that say? Cosmos. Now, when we go from there to the book of, just get a couple more on that. Let's go to the book of Luke 21 and 5, right? Yep. It says, and as some spake of the temple, remember Matthew 24, the disciples showed the Lord the temple and how it was arrayed. It was all gorgeous and beautiful, right? How it was what? Adorned with goodly stones and gifts. He said, why? Because that was the arrangement. There was a certain way that the temple was supposed to be built. There were certain types of curtains, certain colors, certain way that they were fashioned. Everything had to be made specific. So that was the arrangement. That was the adorning. And when you look up this word adorn, in case you don't believe me, the word adorn is what? Adorned. Cosmeo. Now, cosmeo is another word or root word to the word cosmos. Right? Now, the word cosmeo goes into the word to put in order, arrange, make ready, prepare, to ornament, adorn, metaphorically to embellish with honor, gain honor. So on the physical level, the cosmetics of the woman from head to toe. On another physical level is dealing with the arrangement of the temple. The sacrifices and different things of that nature. Then on a physical, on a spiritual level, to embellish with honor, gain honor, meaning those that were walking in the path of that old man, being changed and renewed by the spirit of their mind, being adorned, with, all of the furniture, so to speak, spiritually, that is needed in order to be that new man. That is the arrangement spiritually. You have the physical arrangement, you have the spiritual arrangement. It has nothing to do with the whole entire world. Really, what should have been there in all of those chapters and verses where the word world was, where it says cosmos, it should have all been adorned, or garnished, things of that nature, or words of that nature. All right, now let's go from there. Let's go to the book of 1 Timothy, chapter 2, and verse 9. It says, women instructed in like manner also that women adorn themselves in modest apparel. Right, covered up, no cleavage showing. Oh yeah, I got a dress on. I have fringes. It has a border of blue. But you got a big ass slit in the front and your big ass titties are hanging out. A fucking backless dress. The sides cut out. You can see, meat. Your leg hanging out on the side from that big long ass slit. That's not modest apparel. Adorn themselves in modest apparel. You look up the word adorn. Adorn. Cosmeo, which is one of the root words to cosmos, which is translated world in certain places. It should not be translated world. It should be translated adornment, garnishment, to garnish, arrangement, so on and so forth. Let's go to the next one. The book of Titus, chapter 2, and verse 10. It says, let's start at 9. Exhorting servants to be obedient unto their own masters, and to please them well in all things, not answering again, not purloining, but showing all good fidelity, that they may what? Adorn the doctrine of our power, our Savior, in all things. This is going down. This is going into the spiritual adorning. And what do we have here when we look up the word adorn? Cosmeo, which goes back to the word cosmos. See? Cosmeo. Cosmos. And in this case, it was a spiritual metaphor to embellish with honor and gain honor. The other ones were physical, which was a physical adorning or arrangement, ornaments of the temple of women. Even men have a certain decorum, that certain way that they dress and certain things that they would wear. That is the word cosmos. That is a true understanding of the word cosmos. And the word cosmeo, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, because I did this before a long time ago, goes back to the word cosmetics. Yep, cosmetic. The art of beautifying, art of anointing, or decorating the human body. Decorating, arrangement, garnishment, the human body. From Latinized form of Greek cosmetique, technique, whatever that is. The art of dress and ornament. That's what it means, an arrangement. And what was the spiritual arrangement or adornment? The law, statutes, commandments, our customs, our language, the things that we shared together, that were given to us by Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, that distinguished us from the other nations, which the Lord gave us as for that purpose, to distinguish us from the other nations. It says, from feminine of cosmetikos, skilled in adornment or arrangement. From cosmane, to arrange, adorn. From cosmos, order, ornament. Nothing to do with the word world. All right? And then see cosmos. Cosmos, the universe, the world, bullshit. That's not what it means. Now you have an arrangement of stars, arrangement of the sun, the moon. That is a cosmo. That is an arrangement. That is not a universe. There are different arrangements. There are different ornaments. There are different associations. But the Lord is only dealing with one, because he only chose the nation of Israel. Right? It goes on, cosmos, Then it goes back down here to what? Cosmocomes, dressing the hair, and cosmetic, which you just read, cosmetic. As well as the universe, the world, it does not. I mean, in a sense, It's not speaking, because when you look at the word universe and world, you're thinking about the whole world, the whole universe. Now you have cosmos within the universe, which would be your stars, your so-called planets, the sun, the moon, so on and so forth. The so-called Milky Way, the quasars, the galaxies. Just like you have cosmos upon the earth, which is an arrangement, an organization. And the Lord is not dealing with all organizations. He's only dealing with the organization of the nation of Israel. So going back, that word there is what? I'm sorry. The word there is adorn. For the word, as we go back down, adorn, cosmeo, which is a root word of cosmos. Let's get another one. Let's go to the book of Revelation 21 and 2. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, which is talking about the people, the Israelites, coming down from the Most High, out of heaven, prepared as a bride, what? Adorned for her husband. You look at the word, when a wife is adorned for her husband, everybody ain't doing that. Everybody ain't that woman. It's an adorning. It's an arrangement. You look up the word adorned. Lo and behold, cosmeo. But you have it's a little longer here. Kekos mene, whatever, however it goes. Cosmeo. Then we jump down to the 19th verse here. And we have, and the foundations of the wall of the city were garnished with all manner of precious stones. See, that was a spiritual arrangement. It says, the first foundation was jasper, the second sapphire, the third a chalcedony, the fourth an emerald, so on and so forth. We look up this word garnished. Right? What do we have? Cosmeo. Garnish. Arrangement. Adornment, organization. And that's what this is talking about here in the book of let's see, in the book of Romans, the 11th chapter. Now, if the fall of them, the Jews that were in Jerusalem, that knew that they were Israelites, be the riches of the arrangement, the association, the organization, what? The other Israelites that made up a part of this whole pie. And because they were being called uncircumcised by that which is called the circumcision in the flesh made by hands. You see? Now, when we go to the same precept and we go to the word world again, cosmos, now we go to the root word, which is what? Komizo. Now the word komizo from a primary komeo, which you just read, to tend, an example, take care of. Because the Israelites, the elected of the nation of Israel, is that cosmos or that cosmo that will be taken care of or protected or delivered in these times. The elect among the elect. It says to take care for, take care of, provide for, to take up or carry away in order to care for and preserve. Why? Because there is danger coming. Did not the Most High say, let's see, let's see. Where are we at? Second Ezra 9 and 21. Let's check that one. Second Ezra 9 and 21. Let the multitude perish then, which was born in vain, and let my grape be kept, and my plant, for with great labor have I made it perfect. I'm sorry, 21, I missed the point. And I saw and spared it greatly. Matter of fact, let me start at 20. So I considered the world, And behold, there was peril because of the devices that will come into it. Right. And this is why the Most High is going to do a komitzo and take up or carry away in order to care for and preserve, to keep from harm. To keep from harm. There's another part. Let me see. Right here it says to take care of properly, to provide for an example, by implication, to carry off as if from harm. Genitive case, obtain, bring, receive. So that's why they are being, preserved. All right. And that goes into the root word of the word cosmos, because although the cosmos of the Most High is the nation of Israel, you have an elect among the elect nation, which is the Israel of the Most High. All right. So it goes on to say, and I saw and spared it greatly, and have kept me a grape of the cluster, and a plant of a great people, because these people are going to fulfill the promise that the Most High made to Abraham, that his seed and his seed, singular, shall all nations of the earth be blessed. It says, let the multitude perish then, which was born in vain, and let my grape be kept, and my plant, for with great labor have I made it perfect. See? And that's why, the root word to that, komitzo, means to carry away, to preserve, to keep away from harm. Now let's go to some precepts on that. Let's go to the book of Isaiah chapter 10. Isaiah chapter 10 verse 20. It says a remnant will what? Will return. Why? Because that is the cosmo, the elect cosmo of the elect cosmo of the Most High. The ones that will be protected and delivered and saved from the times to come. Preserved from Jacob's trouble and preserved from the pending destruction that's coming. It says, and it shall come to pass in that day that the remnant, the remainder of Israel, and such as are escaped of the house of Jacob. Escape what? The pollutions of this world. The mind fuckery of this world, for lack of better words. The indoctrination process that's going on in this world. Shall no more again stay upon him that smote them, which is who? Esau. You've heard the term Stockholm syndrome. And Jake is hard into that. Why trimmest thou thy way to seek love? But shall stay upon the Lord, Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai, the Holy One of Israel, in truth. You see? Yep, and that's the next one right there. St. Benji put it up. Romans 9, start at 27. It says, Isaiah also crieth concerning Israel, the nation of Israel. Though the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, a remnant shall be saved, a remainder, a cluster of the grape. The komitzo, that arrangement that is taken from among the chosen nation, that is the Most High's jewelry. It says, for he will finish the work and cut it short in righteousness, because a short work will the Lord make upon the earth. Because many are called, few are chosen. The nation of Israel is large, but only a handful in comparison to the nation will be saved. Only a remnant. Salaki for that. I got one more here, and then we'll move on to the next point. Hosea chapter 1 verse 10. Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea. Why? Because the Lord promised that to Abraham, that his seed would be as the stars of heaven for multitude. It says, which cannot be measured nor numbered. Why? Because they're going to be so huge and large. And it shall come to pass that in the place What place is this? America. Where it was said unto them, you are not my people. And they're saying that, you are not my people, because the Lord said that to us. You are not my people. And even here in this place, they say, nah, y'all just niggas and spicks, tonto skins. You ain't the people of the Lord. Anybody else out there can be the people of the Lord, except for you. You're not worthy to have that, because we've been looked at as the scum of the earth. Because that's how low the Lord brought us down. When the Lord said we were going to be the tail, he wasn't lying. It says, there it shall be said unto them, ye are the sons of the living power. And there will be a remnant that will be saved out of this. All right. So going back to Romans 11 and 12. It says, now if the fall of them, meaning what? The Jews that knew that they were Jews, be the riches of the cosmos, the cosmeo, the komizo, meaning the Israelites that didn't know that they were Israelites, that were a part of the elect to be brought back into the fold. And the diminishing of them, the riches of the Gentiles, because the Gentiles are the Israelite foreigners, because this word, which are the riches, was extended to the ones that fell away, the Israelites that fell away, that no longer had, any hope. They were lost without a trace. It says, how much more their fullness, because the Lord is going to bring back certain ones of the ones that knew that they were Israelites. Then the Apostle Peter cursed them out and said, look, brethren, I knew that for ignorance you crucified the Lord, but now repent. So certain ones of them were going to be brought out of that. That's in the book of Acts, the 2nd chapter. For I speak to you Gentiles, Israelite foreigners, inasmuch as I am the apostle of the Gentiles, the Israelite foreigners, I magnify my office. Why? Because that was his job, to go and to teach the Israelite foreigners, to bring back the ones that are part of the komizo, the komeo, the cosmo, that arrangement, that organization of Israelites that are among the elect. It says, if by any means I may provoke to emulation them which are my flesh, and might save some of them. Why? Because like when he was teaching and the Jews in Acts 13 rejected him, and he turned to the Israelite foreigners, which were being called Gentiles, what happened? The ones that knew that they were Israelites were mad. They were jealous. And that was what it was all about. So that jealousy can evoke emotion and get them to want to get back involved. See, the Most High is the ultimate strategist. Reverse psychology. Like Yahushua told the men when he would heal them, don't tell anybody. He knew they were going to go tell. Reverse psychology. It says, now check this out. For if the casting away of them be the reconciling of the world. Wait a minute. If the Jews were cast away, and if their being cast away be the reconciling of the world or of the cosmos, what does the word reconciling mean? And what world are they talking about? Because the Apostle Paul clearly is saying to the Gentiles, which are Israelite foreigners, that when the Jews fell, the ones that knew that they were Israelites, that brought reconciliation to y'all. And when we look up the word reconciling, the word there is katalage, exchange of the business of money changes, exchange and equivalent values, adjustments of a different reconciliation, restoration to favor. So if the actual Gentiles were out there, when were they a part of this to be brought back into the favor of the Most High? It can't be found because it never happened. So when the Israelites that knew that they were Israelites fell, that opened the door to reconcile back the Israelite foreigners, which are considered to be the world that this is speaking about, which is that organization, that adornment, that arrangement. It's not talking about the whole world. what shall the receiving of them be but life from the dead? Right. So the ones that would be brought back out of that severed state, it would be like they coming back to life. For if the first fruit be holy, the lump is also holy, and if the root be holy, so are the branches. So they are the integral part of this truth. Even though you did have Jews, actual Judites that were a part of the Israelite foreigners, but the ones that were in Jerusalem, they were already there. That's the root of this whole thing. The root is holy. Yahushua is holy. The tribe of Judah is holy. The branches that got broken off when you go to Jeremiah the 11th chapter, it breaks it down too. It's talking about the Israelites, nobody else. So what I'm going to do is, you can read the rest of this. I'm going to jump down to the 25th verse. For I would not, brethren, that you should be ignorant of this mystery, because it's a mystery, even to this very day. Because this is a straight up stumbling block to Israel and to the heathen, especially Edomites. Because the main two nations that really try to get into this are what? Israel and the Edomites. You know? And you have a sprinkle of the other nations that try to get in there. But for the most part, it's Jake and Esau. It says, least you should be wise in your own conceits, that blindness in part has happened to Israel. So the Israelites that knew that they were Israelites got blinded until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in, meaning unto those that komizo, that komeo, that cosmo, that arrangement, that organization. Those Israelites that were among the heathens were brought back into this and cleaned up. Then you have what? The whole pie. Because the Jews in Jerusalem, you had certain ones of them that were part of the elect, and the Israelites among the heathens that were called Gentiles and heathen and all that, you had Israelites among them that were part of the elect. All right, so before I read the next one, I see something here. Right, and I forget what exactly, where exactly this there's, I know there's a actual scripture that says that the heathens have ever been reputed as nothing. They can't be reconciled. That's right. I believe that's Isaiah 67. I'm sorry, 67. Isaiah 63. Just bear with me 1 second. If I'm not mistaken. Nope, that's not it. Right here at 2 Ezra 6:57. And now, O Lord, behold, these heathen, which have ever been reputed as nothing, that's a good point, have begun to be lords over us and to devour us. So they were never a part of this. They were always nothing. So how can they be reconciled or brought back into the favor of the Most High when they were never a part of this? So once this komizo or this komeo or this arrangement or organization of Israelites that were being called heathens were brought back into the fold, and so all Israel shall be saved. Because the Lord said that there will be not, matter of fact, let me get that real quick. Amos 9:9. For lo, I will command and I will sift the house of Israel among all nations, like as corn is sifted in a sieve, yet shall not the least grain fall on the earth. So there's not going to be any lost of the nation of Israel. And so all Israel shall be saved, as it is written. There shall come out of Zion the deliverer, Yahushua, and shall turn away ungodliness from Jacob. So where the fuck do you get the other nations in this? But see, this is a game they play. And it's a stumbling block, because if you don't know those mysteries, pretty much, the average person can be taken, especially with the way certain things are written out. So this is not talking about the other nations. So the riches of the world is talking about this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, and the Gentiles that are to receive salvation, and talking about the Israelites from among these nations that lost their way. So with that, I pray that you brothers and you few sisters have been edified. And to the next time I say, Shalom.